Good morning. Welcome to Unity Small Family Sunday service for August 1st. We begin our service with the ringing of the bell and the lighting of the Christ candle. We ring this bell and we light this candle as a reminder of the Christ light that shines in each and every one of us. So if you would, repeat with me our opening statement. You will find that on the inside of your bulletin. It's number 1. So together, there is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotent. Let's sit with that thought for just a moment. And the truth of that statement may encourage your heart. And now repeat it with me once more. There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God, the good, omnipotent. And so it is. Our music this morning is led by Ron Stoll and accompanied by Ryan Campbell.
Good morning. Good morning. Would you please stand and we'll start with show the press announcements, right? Start with front cover. We have a little echo here that has to do with the Zoom meeting and all the things that are happening that we're discussing around the world. We'll hopefully get that figured out here in a minute. Show the presence. Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel His mighty power and His grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on His face. Surely the presence of our God is in this place. Surely the presence of our God is in this place. I can feel her mighty power and her grace. There's a holy hush around us. I see glory on His face. Surely the presence of our God is in this place. Number 7, please. All that we need, He will provide. God will take care of me. Nothing I ask will be denied. God will take care of me. God will take care of me. Through every day or on the way. He will take care of me. God will take care of me. Be not dismayed by every time. God will take care of you. Beneath His wings above above, God will take care of you. God will take care of you through every day or all the way. He will take care of you. God will take care of you. No matter what may be the test, God will take care of us. Lean trusting one upon His breast. God will take care of us. God will take care of us through every day or all the way. He will take care of us. God will take care of us. Number 27. I'm not going to do this, but you'll remember. No, it's not. Joyful, joyful, we adore thee, God, glory, Lord of love. Hearts humble like clouds before thee, open through the Son above. Melt the clouds of sin and sadness, drive the dark and far away. Giver of immortal gladness, fill us with the light of day. All thy works with joy surround thee, earth and heaven reflect thy rays. Stars and angels sing around thee, center of unbroken grace. Field and forest, vale and mountain, flowery meadow, flashing sea, chanting bird and flowing fountain, call us to rejoice in thee. Thou art giving and forgiving, ever blessing, ever blessed, wellspring of the joy of living, ocean depth of happy rest. Thou art Father, Christ our brother, all who live in thee are thine. Teach us how to love each other, give thanks to the joy divine. Thank you very much. Please be seated.
Oh, it's so good to see everyone here this morning and have people join us on Zoom. And I see several faces that are either new to me or maybe new to Unity. I know here in the back, Mike, if you would raise your hand. This is Mike. He's a first-time visitor. Thank you for being here. And Carol, your friend?
This is my brother, Frank.
Frank? Hi, Frank. Your friend?
This is my friend Chantra.
Chantra? And Julie, I can't remember if you've been here for workshops or if you've been here for a service before. Both?
I got my friend Sherry from Wisconsin.
Sherry, is it?
Yeah, Sherry.
Sherry. Thank you. For our announcements, we are collecting bags and luggage for the Davis Children's Center so that, I was told to stand over here, sorry. We're the Zoom people. But we collect these bags and luggage so the kids there, as they transition from the shelter, will have something to carry their belongings with them. So you can bring those here to the church, just give Pam a call, and then we make sure they get delivered to the shelter. If you would like to support the Sojourner Shelter, they are collecting cleaning supplies and new washcloths. And we have a barrel at the end, at the bottom of these stairs that lead down to the activity room. There's a barrel there where you can donate to Sojourner Shelter. Or there again, give Pam a call. You can drop them off here at the church and we make sure they get to the shelter. Now, next Sunday, plan to come a little early. The president of our board informs me that at 10:30, we will have refreshments in the back. So not sure if that's gonna be donuts and muffins, or I've heard some hints of what it might be, but not 100% sure yet. But do come and enjoy the fellowship and meet people early and have a little treat as well. We have new booklets available, and I will be honest with you, I have not read this one yet. But it is called The Spirit of Family, Faith, Inspiration, and Healing. And these are available out front and also on the table here. And these are unity booklets that I always really, really enjoy them. Just haven't read this one yet, but pick up a copy. Okay, the other thing I need to mention, we have this. It is a sign-up sheet that if you would like to be a daily word reader or an usher, you can fill in the date that you would like to perform one of those duties. It does take a village to make this service. So we invite you to help us out. Help us out. Believe me, you get far more in return than what you get. So this is available up here on this table, so you can catch that after the starts. Oh, and Stephen would like to say something. This is our board president, Stephen Keith.
Thank you. Thank you. I just wanted to give a quick request to not only our regulars, but especially the newcomers today, to please be patient with us as we navigate an interesting service. During COVID last year, we transitioned to online services, and so we could kind of connect to the Zoomiverse, and have fine-tuned that process over the past year into a well-oiled machine, which today you will not see. We're trying to broadcast throughout the world with people who are actually all over the world right now and not physically in the building. So we've got a few people on phones and on the Zoom chat trying to keep things as smooth as possible, but please forgive us if it's not as pristine today as we'd like. Thank you for being here.
Thank you, Stephen. Thank you. Okay, and next I believe Don will perform, or I don't know if anyone has prepared one. If you'd like one, I'll do it. Well, let's have a prayer then before our daily word. Just take a deep breath and allow yourself to settle into your heart space. In this space, we are connected to the divine. And in this divine presence, we give thanks for this wonderful, wonderful group of people. We say thank you for messages that encourage us to love one another, messages that fill our souls. We say thank you that this building exists. We say thank you for all the booklets that come to us from Unity that remind us of our connection to the divine. So with grateful hearts, we look forward and we know that all is well. And so it is. Amen.
Good morning. The daily word for today is radiance. The Christ presence within is my radiant source of good. On a clear day, when a stray cloud passes across the sun, I notice the suddenly diminishing light. Then, looking up, I see brilliant rays of sunshine surrounding the cloud. Instead of hiding the sun, the cloud helps me see and appreciate the sun's radiance. As the sun lights the earth and is the source of its energy, the Christ, the divine presence within me, is my light and the source of everything that I need in order to live brilliantly and joyfully. When, like a passing cloud, an obstacle or challenge along my way, they seem to dim my Christ light, I respond by looking up, by raising my point of view. I am reassured and strengthened, knowing that the divine radiance is shining as brightly as ever. No cloud can dim the divine light within me. The scripture is from John 1, verse 5. The light shines in the darkness, and the darkness did not overcome it.
I woke up this morning meditating on the title of Megan's lesson, and this song came to me, so I will honor that. Amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like me. I once was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. 'Twas grace that taught my heart to, and grace that relieved. How precious is thy grace, so clean. All the I've heard thee. Through many dangers, toils and snares, we have already come 'twas grace that brought us this far, and it is grace that will lead us home. See, amazing grace, how sweet the sound that saved a soul like was lost, but now I'm found. Was blind, but now I see. I once was lost, but now I am found. I was blind, but now I see.
We're so privileged today to have as our guest speaker, Megan Lyon. I first came here to Unity in 2010. And one of the first little extracurricular things that they had was a quiet day retreat. And that scared me a little bit. Spend the whole day in silence, really? But I took the leap of faith and I came that day. And one of the facilitators of that event was Megan Lyon. And that was my first chance to meet you. And one of the, even though it's a silent day retreat, they did have activities that you could engage in. And one of the activities was to spend time with Megan in having spiritual direction. I didn't know what that was, but I decided to try it. And wow, that session with Megan blew me away. So I've been a huge fan of Megan ever since then. And today she's going to be talking to us about filling your strength reservoir. So please join me in giving Megan a huge Unity welcome. Good morning.
Good morning.
I told Janet earlier to be sure she sung my praises to you all, so she took me quite literally. I was joking. I would rather people get up here and say, here's somebody named Megan, whatever. That always makes me feel a little less, like there's expectations. So welcome. It's so great to see your faces. I'm so happy to see all these people here and all these people here. Let's see. Would you like to be unmuted? You can let me know, Stephen, if I need to unmute myself. Thank you. And I want to say thank you to Unity for asking me to share a little bit of my insight that I've had over the last couple of weeks and couple of months. And I also want to thank Ron and Ryan for that great music. It was perfect. I think it goes along just beautifully with the topic today. So thank you all. So when Peggy, I would start my talks this way. When Peggy first asked me to speak, that's not always my opening. When Peggy first asked me to speak this time, the first thought that came up is, oh, what's something cool I could talk about? And then immediately I was like, oh yeah, that's ego speaking. It's not time to talk about something cool, right? This is a time to talk about something helpful. And so I consulted with my wiser inner voice and asked that voice, what do I need to speak about this time? And the message I got was that this would be a good time to talk about something very grounded, something very practical that all of us could benefit from. So I thought about what I've been hearing a lot of in my sessions lately. So my spiritual direction sessions, and then also time with friends and family. There's a word that keeps coming up over and over again, or that maybe people don't use the word, but when they describe how they're feeling, it really aligns with this word. And that word is languishing. I have people who are coming to me and they're describing how they're feeling right now, and it really matches up with this word. I looked up the word, and the definition is lacking in vigor or vitality, lacking in spirit or interest, drooping or flagging from weakness or fatigue, listless, indifferent, faint. Does anyone relate to this? Yeah, okay, yes. And what I'm noticing is a lot of my clients are saying, okay, so the world is opening back up again and people are traveling again and I'm getting to spend time with my family and I expected to be really excited and exuberant because of this. And instead, I'm really tired and I'm really irritable. Those are the two words I'm probably hearing more than any other words, tired and irritable. And several people have said, I feel like I'm languishing. And I'm noticing that people are judging themselves for that at times and thinking that they should be in a better place. And so what I've been talking to people about is what our nervous system has been through over the past year and a half. Most of us, and I would say all of us in some way, in varying ways, have been in a state of hypervigilance for a year and a half now. So we have this collective hypervigilance that most of us are experiencing. And then we have our regular daily life experiences as well that we're trying to navigate in the midst of this collective crisis as well. So we've had so much loss, as we all know. We've lost people we love. We've lost our health, jobs. We've lost security, safety, the ability to go and be in the world the way that we'd like to be, to spend time with people who are sick or even dying, who are in nursing homes. There have been so many losses over the past year and a half. And honestly, we don't know if that's going away anytime soon. We can look around and see that our numbers are coming back up again. And so there's also that sense that this may not be over at this point. And another thing that I think has heightened our nervous system is the amount of division that's taken place, particularly in our country this year. You know, sometimes, I don't know, I'm not a historian, so I don't know if this is true or not, but sometimes it feels like we haven't had this much division in our country since the Civil War. And that has certainly had an impact on our nervous system as well. The divisions on to wear a mask, to not wear a mask, vaccine, no vaccine, social and racial justice issues, issues with whether or not to travel, that from major things to minor things, there was so much division. A very controversial election in November, and then the insurrection in January. It's been one reminder after another of the division in our country. And to think that that doesn't play a part on our nervous system is probably being a little naive. It's affecting us even if we're not people that highly engage in politics or what's happening in our country. It still impacts. And I think it particularly impacts those of us, and this is most Unity people that I know, that are really devoted to love and this idea of oneness. It's painful to see that kind of division over and over again. And so I remind my clients that the first thing that they need to offer themselves when they're feeling this feeling of languishing is self-compassion. Of course, we've had cortisol and adrenaline running through our bodies for a year and a half, and we expect to feel our best. That's not really fair to ourselves. And so I'm asking people to offer themselves self-compassion. I shared with them about something called the second arrow, which was really helpful to me when I first learned about this idea of the second arrow. This is a Buddhist concept that I've read about it from different people and heard a little different perspective, but I'm going to share the perspective I heard from Tara Brach, who is an amazing Buddhist meditation teacher and psychologist. And she shares that the first arrow, so to speak, is just being a human. If you're alive, you are going to encounter loss. You're going to encounter sickness. You're going to encounter just what it means to be human. We're going to go through experiences that are difficult and challenging because we are on this earth. But the second arrow is the one that we apply to ourselves. And the second arrow is when we wound ourselves for the way that we're handling the situation. We judge ourselves, we criticize ourselves. We judge our response to this human experience. And so I'll hear people saying, and I used to say this to myself all the time, I'll hear people saying, I should be handling this better. I should be doing better than this. And judging themselves so harshly instead of being able to step back and look at everything they've been through with this global crisis and their own personal lives, and not having the same level of support they would normally have in their personal lives because everybody's in crisis. And stepping back to see that and be willing to offer themselves compassion in that instead of applying the second arrow to themselves, which can often be even more damaging and more detrimental to ourselves than just the human experience itself. And so what I am reminding my clients, my friends, my family, and myself to do is to sharpen the saw or to fill the strength reservoir. So many of you, I'm sure, have read Stephen Covey's book, The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. My favorite habit is habit 7, which is sharpening the saw. And really, this one is all about self-care. And he begins that chapter by telling the story of a woodcutter who's in the wood trying to cut down a tree. And he's working so hard. He's been working for hours trying to saw down this tree. He's using a dull saw by this point, and sweat is pouring off of him. And a man comes along and says, sir, maybe if you stopped and you sharpened your saw, you would be able to cut the tree down easier. And the man looks at him and says, I don't have time for that. I'm too busy cutting down my tree. And when I first read that, I saw myself in that big time. I thought about the times when I just tried to push through and keep going, even though I was totally exhausted, even though I was completely overwhelmed. And I just kept trying to saw down this tree with a blade that was so dull, it could barely cut a thing. And so after really recognizing I did that, I have been working for the last 10 years or so to learn how to stop and sharpen my saw. And another way to put that is to fill our strength reservoir. So I will often have clients who will come into me and they'll have something big they want to take care of in their life. They know there's something major that they really need to address in their life. Maybe they want to look for a new job, or they want a new career. Maybe they want to work on their marriage or even let their marriage go. They know it's not working. Sometimes they want to lose weight, or they want to make some major lifestyle change. And they come to me and say, I want to do this, but I just can't get up the momentum to do it. I feel so depleted. And so what I will often suggest to them is maybe they're going backwards. They think, okay, if I do this big thing, then my life will calm down. Then I'll feel better. And so what I'll say to them instead is, start by filling your strength reservoir. Instead of trying to take on this huge thing in your life, stop and say, how can I fill myself up? How can I gain more strength so I can get to a place where I'm able to tackle these difficult situations in my life? I'm reading a book by Thich Nhat Hanh. It's a daily reader. It's the one I'm reading for 2021. And the book is called Your True Home. And I came across this reading the other day that is part of what inspired this talk today. It was a reading called Nourish Yourself. And it reads, the Buddha advises us to create the feeling of joy and happiness in order to nourish ourselves before we deal with the painful feelings. Just as a surgeon may judge that a patient is too weak to undergo surgery and recommend that the patient first get some rest and nourishment so she can bear the surgery, so we need to strengthen our foundation of joy and happiness before focusing on our suffering. And to me, that makes so much sense. If we can start there, start with filling our strength reservoir, then we can tackle the bigger things when the time is right, from a place of fullness instead of from a place of depletion. So Stephen Covey tells us how to do that. He tells us what to focus on to allow ourselves to fill our strength reservoir and to sharpen our saw. He calls this the 4 components of well-being. And if you look at your pew, there's a little handout there. And this is something you can use. You can just take a look at it if you'd like to, or if you want to actually jot down some notes and think about how you are taking care of yourself already. And also maybe start thinking about some additional ways you would like to care for yourself. So feel free to use those handouts as you'd like. We're going to take a look at those 4 components today, which is the body, mind, heart, and spirit. And so as we go through these 4 components, I would just ask you, if you would like to just jot down some notes of what you would like to do to nourish yourself, be loving to yourself, to care for yourself in new ways. So the first one I want to talk about is the body. And just take a moment to sit with the question, how do I tend to my body? You might want to write some things down. How do I tend to my body? What are you already doing to care for yourself, care for your body? And then just see if anything else comes up for you, of how you would like to care for your body. I'm going to share with you 2 that have been really important to me, as I've noticed myself feeling what everyone else is feeling, is that languishing feeling. The first one I want to mention, and we all know how important this is, but we don't always put it into practice. The first one is rest. This is so important when our strength reservoir is depleted, is to give ourselves extra rest. I think sometimes people equate a little extra sleep with depression. And so they feel like they don't want to get extra rest because they don't want to be depressed. And yes, if you were sleeping 12 hours a day every day, I would recommend you go to the doctor and find out what's going on. But if you need an extra hour of sleep right now, either with a nap or an extra hour on your night, then I believe that is a healthy thing for you. We know that rest is here to help us recover. And right now, we have more recovery to be doing than we do in, I'll say, normal times. And so allowing yourself extra rest. And I've noticed in my life that there are times that I can go to bed with this looming problem. It feels huge. I can't imagine how it's going to be solved. And I wake up in the morning after a good night's rest, and I feel like, oh yeah, I got that. It's manageable. It's amazing what rest can do to our body and soul. And so this idea seems almost the opposite, but it's a good reminder. The other thing I've really been paying attention to is how much I move. And we know that the pandemic has caused many of us to move less. And so I'm reminding myself to keep myself moving. And for me, that looks like walks in nature and dancing in my living room. That's what my idea of moving is. But for you, it might be yoga, it might be riding your bike, it might be taking walks, whatever it may be, finding the thing that works for you that allows you to move your body and move that energy around your body. It's so important for our well-being. And then to just focus on what else does your body need. Really sit with that. What do you need? Maybe you need a massage or more nutritious foods in your life, or essential oils, or Epsom salt baths. Whatever your body needs, allow yourself to care for it in a deeper way than usual. And so now we're going to move on to the mind. So take just a moment to sit with the question, how do you tend to your mind? What are you already doing? And then just consider if there is something else that you could be doing to help your mind to stay active, to be fed. Over the last year and a half, one of the ways I've kept my mind active is I really engaged in racial justice issues and learning about racial justice. I've been reading books and podcasts, listening to podcasts. I've been taking e-courses from an organization called Racial Justice from the Heart. So that's the way that I engage my mind, is to focus on something that's really meaningful to me. And so that may look different for each of us, but keeping our mind active in whatever way that looks like for you. And then the other thing I really had to pay attention to was my inner dialogue. About a month ago or so, I noticed that my inner dialogue was starting to sound like Eeyore. Right? So here I am, languishing, I'm tired, I don't feel well. And I mean, I felt like at one point when I finally realized what I was doing, I could almost hear myself, I could see my tail falling off of me and say, whatever, it's just gonna fall off again anyway. And I thought, oh, wow. So when I realized that this is the way I was thinking, I stopped and I said, okay, hold on. I'm a student of unity. I know how to think. I know about affirmative prayer. And suddenly the words came up. It just came from somewhere. And I heard this statement: divine energy flows through me, creating perfect health and healing. Divine energy flows through me, creating perfect health and healing. And I said that a few times, and I could almost immediately feel a shift. It was like, oh yeah, that's true. And I could feel that energy flowing through me. And so I realized that I really needed to pay attention to what I was saying to myself, how I was talking to myself, and remembering that, the way I kind of see affirmative prayer is that it's all thinking is prayer. So I want to be thinking in a way that honors what my body is capable of, what my mind, my heart, and my spirit is capable of, what the divine is capable of. And so I just invite you to notice that, to step back and notice your thinking. And it doesn't mean you have to be positive all the time and you have to be Susie Sunshine in every moment, but at least just notice when your thoughts are carrying you on a path that's not really in alignment with who you are and where you want to be. So now I want us to think about heart. And when we talk about heart, this is about relationships. It's about our connections, meaningful connections to one another. And so take a moment to ask yourself, how do I tend to my heart? What am I doing to care for my heart right now? And then ask yourself, is there anything else that you need? Does your heart need anything else? This weekend, the weekend that just passed, I took a group of 14 awesome women, some of them are out there, on what was called Spiritual Summer Camp for Grown-Up Girls. And we had a wonderful opportunity to connect with each other, to have truly meaningful, vulnerable connections with one another. And after the year and a half that we've had, we really needed that. And there were times when I would just step back and I would watch these conversations happening, and I just had a smile on my face. Just so much gratitude to get to see people being able to be authentic and connect to each other in truly vulnerable ways. And I could see people throughout the weekend being strengthened by that connection. And so finding your group, your circle of people, or maybe that one person that you really connect with, and allowing yourself to be fed by that connection is so important. And then I want to speak to something else about this whole heart thing. I want to speak to my introverts, my fellow introverts. I'm hearing from many of my introverts that since the world is opened back up again, many of them are feeling a little overwhelmed because everybody's like, I've got to meet with everybody I haven't seen for 18 months. And so they're getting calls and invitations and parties, and it's a little overwhelming. So I'm really encouraging my introverted friends to step into this more open world slowly, to not feel like they have to say yes to every single invitation. And then I'm asking my extrovert friends to just know that we love you, even though sometimes we say no to invitations. So I promise you, it's nothing personal, but it is a little overwhelming to go from a pretty closed down world to this very open world. And now we're going to take just a minute to think about our spirit. So take just a moment to ask yourself, how am I feeding my spirit right now? And then ask yourself, is there anything else your spirit needs? Is it asking for any other nourishment right now? I've shared this story with many of you before of the time in my life when I had a major chronic fatigue issue. And I went to doctor after doctor after doctor and could not figure out what was going on in my body. And luckily, a few years ago, I finally found out a better understanding, but for years it was a mystery. And I really didn't know what was happening. And after so many doctors and medications and supplements and trying different diets and things not really improving, I finally got the message that it was time to focus on my spiritual well-being. Just stay focused there and trust that the physical well-being would follow when the time was right. And so that's what I did. I started walking the labyrinth. I started using soul collage cards, creating them and using them. I started meditating. I started spending a lot more time in nature. And so I started doing these things to feed my spirit. And slowly over time, it didn't give me 100% perfect health, but I just felt better. Even with my health not at its best, I felt a vitality coming back in me. Even though it wasn't purely physical, but it was certainly a spiritual vitality. And so I really encourage you to think about what you can do to nurture and nourish your spirit, even when all else fails, to come back to your spirit. Because when we nurture our spirit, it ripples into every other aspect of our lives. When we take time to listen to the voice within us, to listen to the voice of divine, it changes everything for us. And so you may have a different way of doing that than I do, but we all have a way to tap in to that connection to spirit. So I'm going to end my talk today with a with reading you some lyrics from a song. Because speaking of feeding my spirit, this music is one of the ways I feed my spirit. And as a matter of fact, Peggy's talk a few weeks ago when she did the music of my life was absolutely beautiful. Because I feel like I have a soundtrack in my life. So I'm so grateful for that talk. And so I'm going to share with you the words to this song, but I'm going to go ahead and tell you up front that these words do not align with unity principles. So I'm really sorry. Okay? This is my song right now I'm using for comic relief. And it really does help me to like feel like, okay, this guy knows what I'm going through. So yes, please forgive me for what I'm about to read you. This is a pop song by AJR called Way Less Sad. And I'm just going to read you some of the words. I wake up and I'm not so mad at Twitter now. Living sucks, but it's sucking just a little now. And I don't want to cry no more, so I set my bar real low. Don't you love it? Don't you love it? No, I ain't happy yet, but I'm way less sad. And so, you know what? Maybe things aren't at their best right now. Maybe I don't feel at my best right now. But instead of judging myself and being upset with myself for that, instead, I can just celebrate the little gains I'm making. Every time I put a drop in that strength reservoir, I can celebrate that. I can be happy that I'm a little less sad than yesterday, or a little less anxious, or maybe a little less tired, and celebrate those gains. As we all know, it has been a remarkably challenging year and a half. And it's not over yet. We know this. But the question I have for you is, can we just agree to be gentle with ourselves? Can we just agree to give ourselves and others a little slack as we work to fill up our strength reservoir the best that we can? Years ago, I determined that I am always, in any given moment, I am always either okay or on my way to okay. So can we just move towards okay? Move towards being less sad, anxious, and exhausted, trusting that divine energy is flowing through us, creating perfect health and peace. Thank you. A little meditation with us. Yes, if you don't mind, music would be great. So allow yourself to sit comfortably in your seat. If you'd like, close your eyes or soften your gaze if that feels more comfortable. And just notice any tension or tightness in your body. Release that tension if you can. Take a deep breath into your belly. Hold that breath and release it fully. Again, inhale deeply. Hold. And exhale slowly. Take a few more deep breaths if you'd like. Feeling your breath move through your nostrils. Noticing your belly fill up with air. Allow your breathing to relax, to become natural. Just noticing it. Now imagining your spirit rising above your body just a bit. And looking back down at yourself. Looking at yourself with loving eyes. The way you would a child or a dear friend. Feel compassion for yourself. For all that you've been through the last year and a half. And throughout your life. Feel nothing but compassion and love for yourself. You are worthy of being cared for, of being loved, of being taken care of, body, mind, heart, and spirit. And if you are willing, make a promise to yourself to feed and nourish yourself. To care for yourself. To fill your strength reservoir in gentle and compassionate ways. You are worthy of care. You are worthy of nourishment. You are worthy of love. Divine energy is flowing through you, creating perfect health and peace. Divine energy is flowing through you, creating perfect health and peace. And so it is. Amen.
The ushers would come forward, please. You will find the offering blessing on the inside of your bulletin. It's there, number 2. And repeat that with me. Divine love, moving in and through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. I give in love, I trust God, and I am grateful.
It's a beautiful song by your mayor, and as a part for you, so sure. Now you won't forget. Jesus spoke and treating them to live together in a great circle. And when the followers asked him then who should be included, Jesus said, let everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody to the circle, circle. Oligarchs and tyrants try to keep some in and everyone else outside. Till revolution sweeps across the land and the people all stand and the common folk cries. Everybody to the circle, circle. Everybody to the circle, circle. Now Sometimes the circle is a class or a creed. Sometimes the circle is made of only men. Until Susan B. Anthony says, what about me? Let me into everybody, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, everybody, everybody into the circle, circle. Still the circle is a privileged thing, excluding people for the color of their skin. Until the voice of Martin Luther King said that freedom ring, let them in. Everybody, everybody to the circle, circle. Everybody, everybody, everybody to the circle, circle. Gay or straight, rich and poor, bold and broken up out that door. The more we are, the greater we become. After all, we are all one. Bring in the people that don't stop there. Bring in the fish in the sea, the birds in the air. Bring in the rivers wide, the mountains tall. We go together all night long. Everybody, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, everybody, everybody into the circle, circle. Let everybody in, let everybody in, everybody into the circle, circle. Everybody, everybody, everybody into the circle, circle.
Oh, thank you, Ryan and Ron. At this time, we give thanks for these gifts and offerings. We are grateful for everyone who shares of their time and their talent and their treasure. We are grateful for this place of love. We know that each thing we do sends a ripple into the world. And we send ripples of love and joy and strength that then lead to peace and love and joy in the world. So we say thank you, thank you, thank you. And so it is. Amen. Now, if you'd like to make a circle, we will do our peace song. Do we have any birthdays here today? Any anniversaries? Anything anybody wants to celebrate? Ryan's birthday. Oh, Thursday. Great. Well, let's sing happy birthday to Ryan. And I do want to say I'm in the prayer chapel today. I'll be hanging out in this area. So if anyone would like to unity prayer, I'd be glad to pray with you.
Feel free to sing along. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Ryan. Happy birthday to you. to be with God as creator. Family all are we. Let us walk with each other in perfect harmony. Let peace begin with me. Let this be the moment now. With every step I take, let this be my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Let there be peace on earth, and let it begin with me.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. And the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
You got food in that pocket?
I know.
Okay, Ernie, it's all yours.
Hey, can we turn, I can't seem to mute the church.
I can do that just a moment. There we go.
There we
Thank you,
go.
Rich. It was great to be able to hear this morning.
Yeah,
Right,
we just barely got this to roll, but it worked out.
It did.
it did. It was, I am so grateful to you and honestly for that message, because that was really good for me today. I don't know how others feel.
Me too, yes.
Me too. It spoke to my heart. It was perfect.
Right.
Megan is terrific.
I do too. I was so sad when I thought we were going to miss it. And then Ernie told me we weren't, and I was, yay!
Well, I wish the publicity had been a little bit better on that after we decided we might be able to do this. But alas, we